Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar about the EXIN ITAMOrg IT Asset Management. My name is Vivian. I work in the EXIN Marketing Department, and we've organized the webinar to explain you about our newest certification program. And of course, we hope that you are or will be as enthusiastic about the program as we are. Before we start, some practical information. Everybody is now set on mute, and you can ask questions via the chat function. And if you want to ask a question out loud, then you can raise your hand. It's a virtual hand, and then when the speaker is finished, we will unmute you so that you can speak. Before we get started, I would like to ask if everybody can understand me or hear me properly. This morning there were some issues with the sound. So could somebody let me know via the chat that the sound is okay? All clear. Okay, good. Thank you. Well, enjoy the webinar, and Suzanne, please get started.
Yeah, thanks, Vivian. I hope you can all hear me as well. I'm sure Vivian will let me know if there's any issues with that, but we tested beforehand. It should be fine now. So just to give you an idea of what you can expect from the webinar today, I'm going to start by giving a brief introduction about the partnership between EXIN and ITAMOrg, and then I'll hand over to our guest speakers, Tony and Birger from ITAMOrg, and they will explain a bit about the why behind IT asset management, so the background of why it's becoming increasingly important. They'll also explain some of the background behind the setting up of ITAMOrg as an organization and the philosophy of ITAMOrg on IT asset management. And finally, towards the end of the webinar, we'll hand over to my colleague Rita, who will explain something about the EXIN ITAMOrg certification program. And of course, there'll be time for some Q&A. So in terms of the partnership between ITAMOrg and EXIN, most of you are already familiar with EXIN, of course, as being our partners. So we're a global exam institute for independent certification and accreditation with more than 30 years experience of developing competencies in ICT. But of course, we don't pretend that we know everything about the IT industry knowledge that's required to produce the good certification programs that you expect from us. So that's why for us it's very important to partner with knowledge partners in particular areas. And ITAMOrg is a global membership organization of IT asset management professionals. It's a thought leader in the area of IT asset management, and so for us it's a very logical partnership to combine ITAMOrg's expertise in the area of IT asset management with EXIN's expertise in the area of certification development. So how does the EXIN ITAMOrg program for IT asset management fit into EXIN's broader portfolio? Well, we have a broad portfolio in the area of governance and security. And you know, we have a program, for instance, for information security, which is based upon the ISO 27000 standard. We also have some more technical type qualifications in the area of cybersecurity and resilience, such as ethical hacking and secure programming. But we also have some programs that are on a higher level in terms of more from the governance perspective. And we've positioned the EXIN ITAMOrg program there because it's really about how to gain control of your IT assets so that you can reduce corporate risk and reduce costs. We have a few other things in the area of governance, such as a business continuity management program, and later this year a data privacy program. So yeah, the EXIN ITAMOrg program is a very logical fit into a broader EXIN portfolio for governance and security. So I'm now going to hand over to Birger and Tony from ITAMOrg. And yeah, they can explain to you about the organization of ITAMOrg and the reason why IT asset management is worth noticing. So Tony, Birger, I'll hand over to you now.
Thank you, Susanne. Thank you very much. Good introduction. Thank you for letting us speak today here. My name is Biver Wilhelmsen. I am Head of Training here at ITAMOrg, and today I will start off by a brief introduction of why IT asset management, as we say, is a task or a discipline in its own right. First and foremost, without going too much into the history of it all, but asset management, IT asset management, originally started out as a discipline of maintaining an overview of some physical technical components, i.e. things that could be managed or put together and taken apart again. Basically, it was in those days where the money and the investment was. Today, the investment lies in the non-physical part, the software. That's where the complexity is, and also where there is a greater financial risk, which I will describe a bit later. Because not only does the software, the non-physical components lie on the physical components, but those as well is also increasingly complex for all companies. The platforms could be very varied, the virtualization could be varied, and also to a varying degree. Sourcing cloud is coming along quickly, if not already established in all companies, and it will be shortly. Many vendors are also pushing in that direction. The mobile devices and their abilities, small computers they are, bring your own device. The end users required a high service and expect all that to coexist within the company. Also, the licensing is more difficult. It is always not up to speed with the technological platforms, and all that makes it extremely difficult to maintain an overview and actually manage all these IT assets. Furthermore, contracts are also beginning to get more difficult in the globalized world. Not so much on the, of course, on the size, but also on the details and the terms and conditions we are facing now. What happens with the US and the EU on the safe harbor agreement, which might be up to debate? How will that possibly impact a contract, and how will that affect a lot of companies who not only work in EU and America, but also just do normal trade with those areas? Very difficult. And of course, from a financial perspective, the audit activities has increased massively since 2008. This is due to the, and this is in all honesty, the vendors still needed to make their budgets, even though a lot of companies had shut down their budgets. So they started auditing, and they have actually not only maintained, but increased the pace of this, making it IT asset management extremely interesting for all financial parts, all security aspects as well, which will be covered in the later years, I suspect, with a much more focused work. So this is the trends within IT asset management. This is, so to speak, what are the background for establishing ITAMOrg and establishing all these courses and the need for structure and methodology and courses. As I mentioned just before, the increased risk compared to earlier. This is very hands-on. We are talking big numbers. I would reveal who, but here locally in Denmark, one of the major software companies earn around 70% of their income in software just via audits. Of course, it's not publicly known because part of the agreement is that it is not publicized, but it is for most financial parties very interesting to focus on. And of course, it is a potential consequence of an uncoordinated behavior because legal, they might be missing the understanding of the technology which lies behind. You do not necessarily understand the software wording or the wording on specific user rights, meaning that a contract may be revised and still leave gaps and traps in it. Procurement, they might be buying the wrong products. This can sometimes be down to basic human error. We buy a governance version instead of an enterprise version, not knowing 100% what we do, but in an audit situation, it could actually be a huge fine for that. And of course, the administrators ticking off too many boxes, also a classical error. Administrators trying to maintain user uptime, they need to have happy users. So if some systems underperform or have difficulties, they might allocate additional resources, not knowing that that could actually have an impact on a license fee. So all that is very difficult to control and maintain. So therefore, we need to develop some competences, not only at the end user side, but also in the whole channel, advising all these end users. We consider the asset management as service management, or ITIL was in the first few years. We have the framework, we have the focus at certain parties, but it's not common knowledge yet. I'm pleased to have you here today as part of this common knowledge behavior. I will just slide on here and give it over to Tony, who will now present our mission and vision.
Thank you, Børge. My name is Tony Franke. I'm the CEO of ITAMOrg, and I'm happy to be able to say a few words to you all here today. The background that Børge just described here is the background on which ITAMOrg was established. It reminds me of Stanislav Paulin from Vodafone, who participated in our last year's conference, international conference on IT asset management, saying, well, IT assets are extremely expensive, and managing IT assets is definitely getting very, very complex from a lot of points of view, and it's not going to disappear. So it's only a question of when you do realize that and when you start acting professionally around this. In Vodafone, they have established a company in its own right called Vodafone Asset Management. It lies in Luxembourg, and this is probably a development we will see within other companies as well. So the mission of ITAMOrg on that background is, on an independent basis, to promote good asset management within the asset management area in the broader sense and cut across IT suppliers, consultants, and purchasers of IT goods and services. So we are actually neutral in our way of promoting good IT asset management. But we do, though, have an ambition of trying to achieve down that road transparent licensing. We do think that having a goal of getting licensing to become transparent would be a good thing for both buyers and suppliers of IT. And let's be honest, licensing is definitely not transparent today. Our vision on how to do that is to develop and spread ITAM best practice, strengthening ITAM awareness and competences. This is where you come into the picture. Exchange experience for the mutual benefit, inspiration, and understanding. And this is realizing that IT asset management is becoming a discipline in its own right. A lot of the people who will be working with this, they've had no sort of room or place of their own to go and talk to peers. And ITAMOrg will be that room where people working with our IT asset management can talk to peers and discuss the challenges they have with people who have the same challenges. We will definitely try and further the mutual understanding amongst buyers and suppliers of IT for how the other part looks at this. So it's not only saying transparent licensing and we think that suppliers should, as of tomorrow, make contracts, free-page contracts that are very transparent. This will not happen, and it probably shouldn't. So also for us, it is an ambition to get the relevant stakeholders in this to talk with each other. Now, transparent licensing has been mentioned a few times, and then again, we do also give away or have introduced the IT Asset Management Award that was given away the first time last year, where David Bickett, who has been for many years the convener of the ISO Group 19770, is was the receiver of that one, and a very worthwhile receiver, I believe. So, whereas this webinar basically focuses on education and certification, ITAMOrg does a lot of other things to promote IT asset management in this journey to have it become a discipline in its own right. The next slide here, our IT asset management philosophy actually has the ambition of grasping, of showing, you can say, whatever we know, all we know, or at least all we think around IT asset management in one page. So we will get further into the details on this, so I should only put a few comments to the slide. In the green area, you see the 4 pillars that we see within asset management. Hardware assets, this is where it all started, as Birger said. Software asset, this is probably where most of the attention lies today, but also cloud and service assets, bearing in mind that if you're having a cloud delivery model, then at the end of the day, your only asset might be a contract. And people and information assets, including bring your own device, that is something that everybody is confronted with today. And this is where I've just, here in Copenhagen, I would say, I've heard the number of smartphones forgotten in Copenhagen taxis for a week. This is a number you don't want to hear, and you will realize how big a challenge you have around also managing the people that are actually handling and using the assets we're talking about. Now, the basis for our attitude toward asset management is, and below right corner, the alignment to what is actually known within service management. So the service management best practice is the fundament. So we're not trying to invent the wheel here again. We're trying to take what a lot of you know and what has developed throughout the last 15 or 20 years within, well, ITIL first and foremost, and combine that with the development within ISO standards and processes. And actually, one of the 2 founders of ITAMOrg, Jan Öberg, is a member of the ISO 19770 working group. So there's a close connection into that. And it's important for us not to try and, as I said, reinvent the wheel. Upper left corner, in our ambition, it is that people working with asset management, we would like at the end of the day, when they have been working with the standard that we would like to promote, that they would end up with an action plan tailored to the maturity levels promoted by ISO. And by this, I also mean that the ITAMOrg asset management philosophy is for everybody. Those who've just started and who are at their first maturity levels, and those who are actually at the most advanced levels. So the sort of end should be an action plan. How do you go forward? And it doesn't depend where you start. And then, as I said beforehand, also the last thing is the ambition to achieve transparent licensing to enable actually compliance. So that was hopefully all there is to know, all there is to think around IT asset management in one page. Now, very short, just to give you an idea of the structure for member organizations like ITAMOrg. We will have chapters around the world. We are cooperating with computer societies in Europe to establish chapters within their umbrellas. And we're talking to computer societies in UK, in Ireland, in the Scandinavian countries, in Germany, and this is sort of you could say that there will be members established with already established players in the market, and we will provide training and certification. This is where you come into the picture. There will be knowledge base and toolbox. I'll get back to that. And there will be ongoing research and development. And we will do that in cooperation with different stakeholders like tool vendors, ISO, SDI, SAM Charter, KPMG. They're concrete sort of people that are active within asset management. Now, just very short on the certification, and I'll not touch on the content. Others will get back to that. This is only to say that on this journey, starting some years ago, where the founders of ITAMOrg sort of got the, you can't say the idea, but the saw the world in the way that they thought that now it was the time to do something, especially for IT asset management. We started out having pilot courses in Denmark. They were fortunately very, very well received. And then we sort of brought the idea on and having dialogues with, like for instance, EXIN, and in that connection also the BCS, the British Computer Society, and learning that both EXIN and BCS agree with our point of view that IT asset management is really becoming this discipline in its own right. And it's something that is important to CIOs. When we talk to CIOs, and we've been talking to many CIOs, and it's basically the same reaction we get. Yes, we know that this is important. We know it's very costly. Please help us. What should we do about it? And this has then just been confirmed sort of more or less throughout all the stakeholders we've been talking to. And as I mentioned here as well, I did mention also on the member structure that we are in dialogues with a lot of established computer societies that more or less throughout all of them do confirm the relevance of looking at IT asset management. Now, another concrete thing we do is that we held an annual conference focusing on asset management, IT asset management. The first one was in Copenhagen in May last year. The next one will be in London at Olympia. And actually it will be co-arranged with the British Computer Society. So this is just a confirmation of the fact that a player like the BCS does consider asset management to be quite important. It takes place at Olympia from on the 9th and the 10th June, and that is actually sort of then hosted at Olympia with the SITS and infosecurity shows that take place there around the same time in the same week. So there will be more than 10,000 IT people there already, and this is of course an advantage for us. And to you all, please note that the EXIN partners are eligible for a discount, so we will also send you an offer, and I think that you should seriously consider participating in this conference, seeing what is actually going on within the asset management scene. Now, what you see here is a ITAMOrg member toolbox. It's just an example, and it's a bit hard to read, and actually you shouldn't read all the detail, but it's giving you an example of what ITAMOrg members will also receive as part of their membership. It'll be a toolbox, and this is the way of promoting also good IT asset management and the standard that ITAMOrg stands for. And the last thing here is that only earlier, a little bit earlier this year, we saw that ITAM Channel was launched. ITAM Channel is an online platform, and it maybe some of you have heard about the SAM Channel. It's now relaunched as the ITAM Channel. It's our modest ambition to make the ITAM channel sort of the most visited online platform on news and white papers, industry profiling around IT asset management. And well, if you haven't seen it, go have a look and become a go have a look more than once and follow what happens there. It's an interesting site. Yes, and then we are on the course offerings. I will hand over now the word back to Birger.
Thank you, Tony. As a brief overview of the course offerings we have at the moment, this is for the foundation course. Of course, we have not in the print at the moment, but very, very shortly we are in production of the basic training material, which is free for all. But of course, it is not a full courseware set. There is some slide information. There is the basic tooling, what you need. But if one should wish, one could actually make the complete course based on this. I am pretty sure that Rita will evaluate on this a bit later on. We also do have the full set of courseware. At the moment, we are the only accredited courseware provider, but at different price ranges, depending on the final numbers, it's either price per set, which is the very, 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 very low numbers. Then we have volume packages, and we do have actually different volume sizes. And then we have all you can eat or an enterprise license, where you basically can just distribute or have as many courses as you would like. But in the following email you will receive from ITAM on this, there will be the contact information if you were to have any further inquiries into this. Furthermore, I would like to announce that we are a month from now. Oh, sorry, I have to go back. Tony just reminded me that actually we have also just quite recently actually signed an e-learning opportunity, which we will start facilitating this following month. So hopefully the e-learning should be, I can guarantee you, in the, let's say, next quarter. For the summer holidays, we will definitely be done, hopefully before. We just need to figure out the details, and then there will be e-learning available based on a online or just basically a recorded course in video chunks that would be available as another offering. And I'm pretty sure that Risa won't mention that because she hasn't been informed. So, and to promote the Masterclass, we have a train the trainer session here in ITAMOrg offices just next month, early next month actually. It is including the foundation course, the software asset management course, and with all the bells and whistles and certifications. We will basically do a 5-day curriculum in 4 days, including the train the trainers and the tips and tricks around this. So it will be some good long days. We will of course have meet and greet. Our ITAMOrg colleagues and experts, subject matter experts, will be attending in the evening, where we will do dinner and possibly one cold beer. If you would like an invitation to this, there is a limited seat number on this. Please request the material, as mentioned earlier. That will appear on the email you'll receive from ITAM. And with that, I will hand back to Rita, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Björn. Before we go to Rita, does anybody have any questions Antonio Björ from ITAMOrg. Please raise your virtual hand and then I can unmute you. Or type your question, that's fine as well. I see no hands, but maybe somebody's typing now. I see a hand. Yes, Mr. Chibulka, you're unmuted. Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Excuse me, could you write down his name to the chat area? I will contact him later.
You can if you chat, you can send it to the presenter, but and then you can put it at Birger. That's the presenter. So you will ask your question via the chat? Oh, that's okay. I will respond to you via the chat, and then in the meantime, I will give the word to Rita if nobody else has any questions. No? Okay. And Mr. Chibulka, I will send you a chat now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Tony and Bert. So, I will talk about the EXIN ITAMOrg certification program. I'm the program manager at EXIN, and the ITAMOrg certification program is in my portfolio. So if we look at the complete certification program, if we look at availability, then you can see that the foundation module is already available, and software asset management will follow soon, probably in April, and the other modules later this year and beginning of next year. If you want to do the foundation exam, training is recommended, highly recommended. About the prerequisites, for the higher certifications, training is definitely mandatory. Although we recommend it, and for the expert, probably a combination of specialist certifications will be required. And for accreditation, for the specialist and for the expert certifications, accreditation will be mandatory. Then a few words about the context of the IT Asset Management certification in the EXIN portfolio. Suzanne already showed a little bit about the context. It is located in the manage area in the governance domain of the EXIN portfolio. And it is linked to many other programs, but here we show a few of the strongest and the most natural relationships. If you look at IT asset management, you could say that the keywords are control, structure, consistency, and optimization. And of course, these subjects are also in other programs. For example, cloud computing. If you are a cloud and services asset manager, you would want to know what the facilities of the cloud environment can offer, and what you can outsource and what you want to keep in-house. About data centers, if you are a hardware asset manager and your servers are located in a data center, you want to understand the data center capability and the responsibilities that you still have. IT service management, if you are a professional somewhere in the IT asset management chain, you must understand the life cycle of services. IT asset management takes place in the context of planning a service, designing a service, change management, release management, configuration management, etc. And there's of course information security. As a professional in IT asset management, you're also responsible for implementing and maintaining the security, the availability and the integrity of assets. That is why a broader understanding of information security is a natural extension of your IT asset management knowledge. If we look deeper into the foundation certification, for example, there are the target groups. The IT administrator is responsible for keeping up-to-date information about all the assets. The Chief Financial Officer wants to know what is the value of the assets and how can we economize on it. The IT Manager is managing assets on a daily basis, and the Procurement Manager has to know what to buy. And the Security Manager wants to know which assets do we need to protect. As I mentioned earlier, the training is recommended. It is a 2-day training for Foundation, and we also highly recommend that you have some basic understanding of IT service management processes. About the exam, it is 60 minutes. It contains 40 multiple choice questions, and it has a pass mark of 65%, which means that if you have 26 points, you will pass the exam. If we look at the content of the Foundation certification, it is actually the high-level content of each of the specialist modules. So it's about hardware asset management, software asset management, services and cloud asset management, people information asset management, and of course the interfaces between them. And there are some general subjects in the introduction, like why your organization needs IT asset management, the challenges and the benefits, the IT asset lifecycle, compliance, the ecosystem and the key stakeholders of IT asset management, the ISO standards, and IT service management best practices. And of course the risk and the cost control of IT assets. This is a map of the related to the e-competence framework. As you know, EXIN is mapping all certifications to the e-competence framework, and here you see a draft of the mapping to the IT asset management certification. On the left side you see the relevant competencies, and on the right side you see the level of coverage and the level of accountability. You can see here that the main focus of the Foundation is on understanding and less on the skills. So contract management, service delivery, information and knowledge management, risk management, and information security management are the main competencies covered in this certification. For software asset management, this competence map is not ready, but we will expect that the subjects will not be very different. They will only be on the supporting materials for the certification. There is a general flyer, EXIN ITAMOrg IT Asset Management. There is a general white paper called Asset Management in the Hybrid IT Environment. There's a preparation guide. There's of course the courseware that Bur already mentioned, and it can be purchased from ITAMOrg. And so there's an error in the slide. It is not available soon, it is already available, and you can contact ITAMOrg about it. That's the complete courseware set. Later today we will publish a set of sample questions for the certification, and Bur also mentioned the basic training material, which is a concise slide set of dealing with one specification per slide, and this is meant as a head start for those training providers who want to develop their own courseware. And we also mentioned the trainer, which you will receive more information about tomorrow. ITAMOrg is also working on making a body of knowledge available, and it will probably be in the form of a book. Then the software asset management specialist. The target groups of the certification are of course the software asset management manager, who is responsible for the life cycle of software, the license manager. Compliance to license in licenses is growing, of non-compliance is growing, and like Tony also said, and in our part of the world it is not so much that companies do not want to pay for their licenses, but often it is a very complicated matter because they do not know which software is being used in their organization, and that is the risk. The IT Asset Manager is responsible for the life cycle of all assets and how they contribute to service delivery. And the Contract Manager is responsible for the compliance to contracts. The prerequisites for the Software Asset Management certification is a training of 3 days, and we highly recommend that the candidate has the foundation certificate to have some basic knowledge about IT Asset Management. The exam is 90 minutes. It contains 40 multiple choice questions and also has a pass mark of 65%. The subjects of the Software Asset Management Specialist are based on the ISO standard, the 19770, and IT Service Management Best Practices. The subjects are risks, costs, challenges and benefits, licensing methods, establishing a business case, the key policies, processes, procedures and tools, the software lifecycle and how to maintain a database, the interfaces with IT service management, and managing all the relationship within the business and with partners and suppliers. The standard, the 19770 standard, allows for incremental implementation. And that means that the tiers that you see here relate to a level of implementation. The tier 1 is about having trustworthy data. Tier 2 is about practical management. Tier 3 is about operational integration. And Tier 4 is about full conformance to the standard. Supporting materials for the Software Asset Management Specialist. It has, of course, the same general flyer and the same general white paper. And soon we will have a preparation guide. Again, the courseware can be purchased from ITAMOrg. They are the accredited courseware provider. There will be a sample exam, and also there will be a concise slide set, which can be a head start for training providers who want to develop their own courseware. And there will be a body of knowledge, probably in the form of a book. So I hand over the floor to Vivian again.
Okay, thank you for your time, everybody. If you have any questions for Rita, again, the same, you can raise your hand or send it via the chat. In the meantime, I did get a question for Björn and Tony, and I already sent it via the chat. Can they discuss how they differentiate from IAI-TAM, gentlemen?
Yes, thank you. Just a second here. This gets back actually to our philosophy. So here again, as I said, this is the one page designed to grasp all there is to know about IT asset management. Now, the way we see as differentiating to ITAM is, as I mentioned back when I went through the philosophy, we do as a basis for what we for the standard and the framework we're trying to build here, we stand, you can say, on the service management best practice and on the ISO standards and processes. And as we see it, ITAM doesn't do that. They've been around for some time, and they have built their own standards and framework. So the basic difference is that whereas we do align to service management best practices and ISO standards and processes, at least in our point of view, ITAM doesn't. And this is where the difference lies. Well, I can go into more detail on this. So if there's anybody of you who wants to have a more detailed discussion around this, please please drop us a mail and we will go into that. But at this stage, the actual answer to the question is it's sort of basic philosophy difference there is, and whether you like the one or the other. Well, it's obviously we tend to think that it was good to sort of start on the basis of things that are already known and being used very widely out there.
Okay, thank you for that answer. If nobody else has questions, you can still, oh sorry, I get a response. It is very helpful, thank you, and yes, I would love a deeper dive. I will ask Tracy to contact you directly so then you can discuss that with her directly. Okay, people can still ask questions. In the meantime, I will let you know that tomorrow you will all receive an email from us with a recording of the webinar, some additional information about the Train the Trainer next month and how to sign up for it. Also about the conference in June in London. And for our partners, they get an offer for a year free accreditation and a free voucher for their trainers for the IT asset management modules. Here, one more question. Are there courses available in the USA? I think that's for Tony to answer.
Please repeat the question.
Are your courses available in the USA?
Well, you could say basically we're available all over the world. It's depending also after this webinar whether there are any of the HCOs working also with EXIN going to the market in the USA. As basically the courses are not limited. But as of yet, I mean, we're launching it now. There hasn't been any offerings in the USA, but there's no sort of principal limit to it. I'm not sure it does actually. I believe the question would be more or less, would there be any courses offered right now? There are not any courses planned in the US, but basically and hopefully there will be.
Yes, hopefully we will have some training partners accredited. And maybe also people in the US can benefit from your online offering?
Yeah, through the online offering, definitely people all over the world would be able to benefit through the e-learning that will be made available quite soon.
Okay. And I have another question. When will the higher levels of certification and foundation be available at EXIN? Rita, Suzanne, I think that one is for you.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we expect that the software asset management certification will be available in April, and the other certifications will be planned during this year and the beginning of next year.
Okay, thank you. And I have comment from our colleague in the USA, Tracy Roach, who says, we will be actively looking for partners in the US. So partners beware, before you know it, you will be offering IT asset management, which is only a good thing. I see no more raised hands. Last call for questions. Anyone? I don't think there's any questions coming. So then I think that concludes this webinar. I would like to thank the presenters for their time and all the delegates for their time and attention. You will receive an email from us tomorrow with the recording of the webinar included. Thank you for your time and I wish you a lovely day. Thank you. Goodbye.